What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Today's video is going to consist of a conversation around the newest installment in the DCAU. It is the Tomorrowverse's Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. Directed by Jeff Lemaister, this movie was very underwhelming, to be honest with you, and I will be getting into spoilers because I really can't talk about this without really getting in depth with it. So those of you who are DC fans or just fans of superheroes in general, or if you follow this story and the comic book storylines and how the Arrowverse did it, then you know the basic premise behind the Crisis on Infinite Earths, or if you've seen the movie from the early 2000s with like the old school Justice League members consisting of Kevin Conroy's Batman. Basic plot of this storyline is the Monitor has gathered all of these heroes with the help of Harbinger, which in some iterations it is Lila, and then in this iteration it is Kara Danvers or Supergirl. So the Monitor gathers all these heroes so that he has a chance to think of an idea or something to stop this antimatter wave from taking out all of the Earths and all of the universes and all of time and space. Now, to do that, you need specific heroes from all the universes, and one thing that is a common theme is a Flash from every universe, a Green Lantern, a Batman, a Superman, a Wonder Woman, and random other heroes as well. So we see various iterations of all these heroes, or the main heroes at least, in this movie and in other iterations of Crisis as well. I will say that the Tomorrowverse versions of these heroes are pretty cool. You have Matt Bomer as the Flash, you have Jensen Ackles as Batman, Darren Criss as Superman, Stana Katic as Superwoman or Wonder Woman, because in this movie, Superwoman, it's from the Crime Syndicate, so we have like Superwoman, Owlman, Power Ring, Johnny Quick, Ultraman, you know, so you have like these different heroes, but they're part of the government, but they're criminals. There's a famous line in this movie that says, "How can you be both the government and criminals?" I love that because it's just it's so funny. It's like so on the nose, and even all of the criminals in the room, like the heroes, they're criminals, they're all just like, oh my boy, you know, like it's crazy. Like, how can you be both the government and criminals? Which, you know, anyway. So Meg Donnelly voices Supergirl, Harbinger, Kara Danvers, they're all the same person, but Meg Donnelly does a really good job. Harbinger is the one that brings all of these heroes together. And like in the Arrowverse crossover and even in the comics, you know, Harbinger is kind of fooled at one point because the Anti-Monitor obviously is the antithesis to the Monitor. He fools Harbinger into thinking that he is the one that, you know, he wants this to happen, he wants that to happen, and then he gets him or her on his side, and you know, it's a whole thing. So I'm hoping that with the other parts coming with this Crisis crossover that it gets better, because frankly, I'm a huge DC fan and I love a lot of the content that has come out, and I was super excited for this, and I was very, very, very disappointed. So in every Crisis storyline, you have Pariah, which in the Arrowverse, it was played by Tom Cavanaugh. So basically, Pariah's character is a man who kind of messed up. Like, he messed up and he got involved in trying to find the Monitor. At least in the Arrowverse crossover, he got too heavily involved in trying to find the Monitor and reveal who he was. So his penance was seeing the destruction of every universe, but right before it happened. And that's kind of what happens in the comics too. Pariah does some things that, you know, we can get into in another video. It gets him to have this penance, which his penance is to see the destruction of every single world and every single universe moments before its destruction. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, he gets transported there and bam, you know, like 5 minutes, bam, the world's destroyed. In this movie, Pariah is actually John Constantine, because in this timeline or this continuity, John Constantine changed the timeline and he helped Barry change the timeline. So now his penance is because he did this severe wrongdoing by changing the timeline and helping somebody else change the timeline, which is like time travel 101 no. His penance is to, in essence, be Pariah, and he has to see the destruction of all these worlds. He keeps getting into Flash and saying, "Hey Flash, you know, all the worlds are dying, you need to do something, because that's all he can really do. He can't physically change anything, he can't physically do anything except for aid Flash or other heroes into getting into what they need to be involved in so that they can stop this crisis from happening. So that, and coupled with like how it just seemed like it was more the multiverse of the Flash as opposed to like an actual Crisis crossover, and just the way how the story went. Like, look, I love seeing all these heroes. I love this storyline. I love this continuity, and I do like the Tomorrowverse. I like the way how the animation is, the more comic book-esque drawn lines and everything, and how the characters look. Like, yeah, it looks a little bit more like a step down than the New 52 continuity of movies, because the New 52 continuity of movies were a lot darker and grittier, and it just seemed more like brute force, and the way how the characters were drawn and everything, it just seemed like, damn, like that's like sleek and sick. I like that. This, it seems a little bit more, not happy-go-lucky, but kinda, you know, just a little bit more like, ooh, a little brighter and nice, and I do like that. It's a nice refresher, you know? So I do like the Tomorrowverse continuity, the movies that have come out, but one major thing I'll say is this continuity has been severely rushed. In the New 52 continuity of movies, you had 16 movies. 16 movies to get attached to all these characters, all these different storylines. You could flesh out so many things over 16 movies. Here you have about like 6 movies, maybe. 7, maybe. Movies, it's just so fast. Everything happens so fast. And honestly, I did enjoy a lot of the movies that we got in this Tomorrowverse before Crisis came into play. But it's because I'm already so well versed in all of these stories that I just kind of put the pieces together behind the scenes. And maybe that's what they were going for with this new continuity, that you kind of just put the pieces together behind the scenes, or if you didn't know what was happening, you would go back and watch other things or read up on the comics and, you know, get into that, so that sales for the comics and other avenues brought in money. But I really wanted to hop on the train of loving this movie, but it just didn't grip me the way that I thought it would. There are moments in this movie that I'm like, damn, okay, here we go. And then it just wasn't paid off very well. A lot of things were just super duper rushed. Going through Barry's different memories, like I kind of understand that aspect of it, seeing it from Barry's standpoint. Like, he is the Flash, so he's getting thrown into all these time warps. Like, he's time warping and time traveling and knowing all these other things on his own, and maybe not on his own. And I love how they brought in the use of the cosmic treadmill, but they did it in a different way, involving Amazo and Barry, and using Iris, and going back to before the beginning, before Barry became the Flash. So it was a very interesting structure of the movie, and I could see kind of what they were going for, but I think the execution just kind of faltered quite a bit. I love that they brought in all of these various Earths and universes and different versions of these heroes, like a Superman who lost his Lois, you know, like, but from old age, and you can see he's a little worn and torn in the face, and he's much older. He's not cold-hearted yet, like not the one from like the Injustice universe who literally had Lois Lane murdered by the Joker. Like, hello, Jesus. This Superman, he was just older, and he lost his Lois, you know, which Lois Lane is played by Alexandra Daddario, and good God. But I'm curious to see parts 2 and 3 when they come out. Maybe it'll make me appreciate this first part a little more. Maybe maybe this was done on purpose. Maybe the rushing and getting everything so fast and it being so jumbled was done on purpose, so that when the second and third parts come out, they flesh out other things, and you see some other things that happen in between all of the time jumping and all of the memory swaps, and getting all the people together, and seeing the formation of the Justice League and all this other stuff, because we never really saw the formation of the Justice League in this continuity yet. I'm curious to see how that actually happened, and in this movie you kind of see a little bit of it, so I'm curious to see why they went so fast and abrupt with this movie, with this Crisis movie, but I am curious to see what parts 2 and 3 bring. Thank you guys for watching this video. It is highly appreciated. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you can get a notification anytime there's a new video. Thanks again for watching, guys. Until the next one.